Hello everyone, welcome to this week's SAP Fiori side chat. My name is Eugen Winchell and I'm with the SAP UX product management team. And I'm joined by my co-host Keith Fisher. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Eugen. Good morning, panel.
Hi. And in today's topic for the Fiori side chat, we actually have Steampunk, which is ABAP in the cloud, and Fiori elements and Fiori tools. And for that, we have invited an awesome round of experts for a panel discussion. And today we have with us Katja Zoch, Frank Jentsch, Jens Weiler, Sebastian Steinhauer. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Eugen.
And to make it truly interactive, we invite all of you to actually ask questions and comment during our chat. And before we get started, we wanted to set a few ground rules. Over to Keith for that.
So first and foremost, this is a chat that includes forward-looking statements, and I think it's important that everybody realizes that what you might see here is in some cases work in progress, and there's no commitment to actual delivery, and you shouldn't make contracts based on any of the comments that you might hear here today. We are part of a larger ecosystem. Our group is focused on UX and UX related topics. We promise not to sell you anything, but we do ask that you refrain from promoting third-party tools or services. If you look to the bottom of your Zoom window, you will see a chat window. Feel free to go ahead and type your name in, and because we'd like to actually know who you are. And you also have video and microphone settings there in the lower left, from which you can actually go ahead, raise your hand. We could actually put you on screen on audio to ask your questions. Also like to introduce you to the chat window, which you see names that are popping up already for introductions. And there's also a Q&A window that you can use to go ahead and ask questions, and we will moderate them and ask them of the panelists when we have opportunities and as the conversation evolves. This is an informal conversation, but we want to make sure that we keep things professional. We will make them as much fun as possible. These meetings are recorded and will be available on the Fiori side chat wiki that will be linked and available in the chat window. So without any further ado, I wanted to actually ask each of the participants to introduce themselves. So first, Frank, please introduce yourself. Welcome to the chat.
Yeah, hello everyone. So my name is Frank Jentsch. I'm leading the project of Steampunk. So this is the ABAP environment in the cloud.
Great, welcome. Jens, welcome to the chat.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Jens Weiler. I am the lead architect of Project Steampunk.
And thank you, welcome. And Katja, please introduce yourself.
I'm Katja, and I'm together with Sebastian. We are the chief product owners for SAP Fiori Elements and SAP Fiori Tools.
All right, and Sebastian, not to steal Katja's thunder, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Sebastian Steinhauer. Otherwise, I'm actually doing the exact same thing that Katja just said.
Excellent. So it's good to have lots of help. This is going to be an interesting conversation. So I'll turn it over to you, Eugen.
Yeah, great. So Frank, you just mentioned Steampunk. Can you actually tell us what is Steampunk and how does it help our customers?
Yes, thanks for the question. So first of all, Steampunk is basically SAP's platform as a service offering for ABAP. So and the basic motivation why did we start this project is we have a lot of customer systems on-prem with tons of custom code, and we have a well-established programming model which is a proven environment for enterprise-ready applications. And now we see the trend towards cloud. And one main characteristics in the cloud is that we have a stable core. And in order to transform the custom code towards cloud, it requires a side-by-side approach. And therefore, our Steampunk offering as a platform as a service is one answer to this question. So that's basically the motivation. So our sweet spot is to protect the investments of our customer base on premise and support our customers with their ABAP code to transform this code to the cloud. So with that, we see currently 3 different main scenarios how to enhance the stable core. So one aspect, the first scenario is in the area of the cloud ERP. As I mentioned, that the customers need to leave this core stable and they want to extend the core, and this requires a side-by-side approach. And especially in case of S/4HANA Cloud, Steampunk is perfectly suited to enhance the cloud ERP It's important to say that it's the best suitable solution if you bring your custom code from on-prem to the cloud. The second main scenario is we have a lot of add-ons built by our partners on a pure NetWeaver stack, for example. And in order to bring these ABAP add-ons to the cloud, Steampunk is also a very good solution just to reuse the existing assets and to provide this application in the cloud. Last but not least, we also see currently a third scenario, which we are calling hub-like usage, which means that different data sources are combined and different data is integrated into Steampunk systems, and UIs are built on top of these Steampunk systems. So this is the main motivation and the main scenarios for Steampunk. And by the way, I call it Steampunk, so it's short and shorter than the official name. The official product name is SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment, and we are using the project name Steampunk, which is in between also well established in the market. And Steampunk stands for genre and science fiction, where all stuff is combined with and beautiful made with new aspects, and this is what we are basically doing also with ABAP. All right. So if it comes to the basic ingredients, so what are the main ingredients, the vital parts of Steampunk? So because this session is of course Fiori driven, so therefore I would like to explain a bit more the basic pillars of the backend offering, of the Steampunk offering. So we have of course the ABAP system, which is basically a technology stack, which brings also a HANA database as part of the product. So, and I would like to make it short because we have the demo later on. So, but this basic this system provides a powerful programming model. The name is the ABAP RESTful programming model with data services, core data services as a main pillar. And we optimized also the ABAP language towards cloud. We provided so-called released objects. So these are interfaces which can be used to develop own applications. And from an administrator's perspective, everything is integrated into the cloud platform. So therefore, we are using the cloud cockpit for the administration of a system. But from a developer's perspective, and this is what we will see in a live demo, we are using the ABAP development tools in Eclipse. And we made also use of different Git approaches. But that's, I think, in order to save time for questions and answers and also for the demo, yeah, that's a short introduction of the Steampunk product offering.
Great, thank you very much, Frank. So you just mentioned the demo. Jens, can you show us anything on how ABAP actually works in the cloud?
Yeah, let's directly jump in. So let's just start here. So I'm here in the SAP Cloud Cockpit, which some of you might know. And the ABAP is integrated inside the CF Cloud Foundry environment, so the Steampunk. And I have an instance already provisioned here. And what I want to do now is get the service key of this instance, because I can use directly the service key to on, and it's incredibly fast today. I can use the service key to connect to my ABAP in Eclipse environment, and I have by chance already this opened, and now I can click here, create an ABAP cloud project. As you see, I've cleaned up my Eclipse. I've used a new workspace, to be honest. So, and let's just paste the service key here, click next. Then it's asking for an authentication. Wrong password, sorry. So now I've authenticated. Now my project is ready. And now I have a project which I'm connected to my Steampunk instance, and I can basically start developing. I have already prepared a package which we will use for this short demo scenario. And as you see, I have already made 2 dry runs here. So we are at the number 3. And with that, we are good to go. Just a short introduction what I will do anyway. So now I'm on the Steampunk. I will create a very easy application and bring it to a Fiori UI with using Fiori elements. Just also all in the developer perspective. And afterwards, Katja will catch up and show you more fancy things on the Fiori side. So let me start. I'm in my package. What I would need first is a table. Which is based on, I will do this all on the scenario which we call S-Flight. It's a well-known scenario for the ABAP world, which exists, I think, since the R3 world exists. So we also have rumors, it's about airplane, baby airplane ERP, airplane company. So rumors tend that maybe some airplane companies are using that as a real ERP, but we're not sure about that. But back to the demo, sorry. Please all again remind me if I'm drifting too far away. So let's create a database table, and we want to have we want to maintain our airports which are available. Airport 3. Meaningful description, whatever. A transport, which I just already have one, that I can push it again to the Git later, so there it's collected. Now I have a table, which is already kind of predefined, and since you don't want to see me typing, I have a copy and paste on my other screen. That's why I tend to look a little bit left. So what we have here is a UUID for the airport, a semantical key for the airport, a name, a city, and a country. Quite easy, quite straightforward. So let's just activate the table. So now we have that. Based on the table, I create a so-called core data services view, which is then with the new workspace, I have forgotten all what I've done in my other workspace. So you have to see me type I airport. Of course, I have done that. Let's just continue. So now I have a CDS view, which represents then all the stuff I can do also with the UI annotations to get it on the UI with the Fiori elements. So he asked me now from where I want to select, and this is of course my table. So let's just see the demo airport 3. And easy thing now, I just want all the elements already in my view, and he wants another SQL view name for it on the database. So let's just call it IDA3. I don't care at the moment. So everything is fine with that view. We can already activate it, but we want to also have at least some annotations that if we get this to the UI with a no data service, we can at least see something, because now we could create no data services based on, but there would be no Fiori element controls which should have any information how to render that. With that, we add some annotations. It starts with the header information for it. So let's just add it here. So we have the header information, we have airport, airports for the plural, and the title is in the, how is it screen called? I'm the ABAP guy, so please shoot me if I'm saying wrong. How is the detail screen called, Katja or Sebastian?
Your object page.
Yeah, the object page, just remember it. Sorry for that. We need a UI facet, which I heard is quite important for me as an ABAP developer, not, but we need it. Also for the object page. And we only need one UI facet, so this is fine. And the only thing we need to do now is, or what it's pretty good is, I don't want to have UUIDs on the UI, so I can say here UI add hidden true. So now the UUID will be gone on the UI. And for the other things, I need to paste some information where those fields should appear, like on the object list. The position is on line item and the identification is on the object page then. Also on position 10, I'm quite lazy. I do the same position for everything, so he just does it by chance or by in the order which is here. So I could change the numbers, but let's keep that off. So we have a fast result here. Let's activate it. I think this was already everything. Now we want to expose that thing as a service. So we need to create a new service definition. In the service definition, you define that one. You define which entities your service consists of. In our example, it's quite straightforward because we only have one entity. Of course, if you would have bigger services where you have value helps and everything added, this one will grow. But for now, service definition with our view is completely fine and good to go. Now I have the abstract definition of this service. Now I need to expose it as a real OData service or another service. In our case, a V2 UI service. In 2011, we will be able also to expose it as V4 services, also then as UI or Web API services. But for now, we are stuck here with the V2. So 2011 release somewhere in November.
Just to clarify that, 2011 is coming out this year, not in the past.
Yeah, thank you very much. So these are the classical or more newer SAP release identifiers. So 2011 means 2020 in November. So next year we would have released like 2102 February in 2021 sounds already. 2021 sounds quite far in the future. Sorry, I'm drifting away. Eugen, you should again get. Sorry. So service binding. So we have abstract service. We want to have it as a V2 UI service, and I need to get a name. Airport 3. So that's all. We have the service binding now, and now we can. So here we have the service definition, which have been chosen to the service binding. I could add more. And now I want to activate this service locally, which means I make the service available, activated to the outside world. And this is unfortunately taking a little bit of time. So does anybody know a good joke or something like that? So this is really the only time where it takes a long time, because all the service has to be activated. The users have to be registered to the service, because in Steampunk, we only activate services when a user is registered to a service or if we have a role. And what happened here now is that all the developers have been added to this service. So now I'm good to go. I have the service URL here. I could open the OData service already. Let's just give it a try. So here we have the OData service of our of the service, and now we have also the chance to use the Fiori Elements preview button here, which will show you the Fiori Element application, which is being built on that OData service using the annotation we did. So what you see is we already have airports here from the header, and we have. Can click just a go. We have country key, city, airport name, and airport ID. Since we've just created the table, we basically have no data in there. And that exactly brings me to the point. Let's make this create, update, delete enabled. So what I have to do for that is I have to go to the CDS view again, which is our center of gravity. And I say here, I fly around here, new behavior definition. I add behavior to that view. Click next. And now always what I forget, I need to, now this is then watched from the system as a business object. So I have to add a root identifier, because this is our starting entity. Of course, I could have item views and so on associated with it, but I don't want that. I just want now to have that. Let's make a behavior definition out of it. Click finish. And now here we have our behavior definition. It's already managed, which means the framework is taking care for all the standard create, update, deletes. I also want to add draft functionality to it. So with that, I only need to add here with draft. This one is a log master. And the only thing which is missing now is a draft table where the draft data is stored. I just give it a name here. Don't care. Now I have this nice little yellow bulb which says it doesn't know the table, but now I can say just create me that table. So also now I have automatically created the draft table for that, where we have the same fields plus some additional administrative data for the draft. I have the log master, let me check. And the only thing I have to add that the UUID of this is been added automatically is also this one. The UUID field is read-only for the user. It has a numbering which is managed. Now I activate this behavior definition, and now it should be somewhere here. The only thing which is bad, I also need to add a behavior implementation, else it dumps. But I do not need to write at the moment something here. Uh-oh. What happened? This is looking. Close it. Draft person must have the field airport UUID, cannot have a key field mount. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I've by accident overwritten the client dependency of this view. No. Huh? Did I override it on the table? Oh, okay, I've created a client independent table, so let's stick with it. And or does this only work? So we're now on a new land, which we've never touched before, but it should work out. Here we go. Now we have an active client independent table and UI to create that stuff. And now I got lost. And exactly, we need the behavior implementation, which we do not need for the demo, but the framework says I have to create it. And that's basically all. Again, activate it. And now comes the nice part. I switch back to my UI. I press refresh. And now you see I have a create button. Whew, I'm now feeling much better. Let's just create it. Yep.
As you can see, we're doing a live demo.
Just getting...
Now we all know this is live. Actually, maybe we can give a question a shot that we have in the meantime while you look.
Yeah, please.
So there's a question from Daniel Sanchez. Should I use the Eclipse ADT or SAP Fiori tools on Visual Studio Code to develop Fiori apps that consume a CDS view? What factors should I consider when deciding? So that's the question. So you're taking a lot of things already. You're ahead of the class really on a couple of things, Daniel. We wanted to show you how awesome the Fiori tools can actually pick these things up after they're created in Eclipse. So Katja, why would you actually go and create a project in the Fiori tools after you already have seen an app that has been created in the ADT?
So usually the people start in the ADT to model their backend, the databases, and also the annotations. But the annotations is just a part of what you need for a real nice UI. So as soon as you start to want to make your UI a bit more fancy, if you want to add some functionality like an exit to export, if you want to have some charts, some, let's say, freestyle code, you need to have an UI project. And for creating this UI project, you have to use the Fiori tools.
So in general, the vanilla scenarios really work with based out of the service directly and the annotations from the service. And we have been using that actually in our demos in the past, because it allows us to make a really nice Fiori Elements demo by just putting in a service URL, and then we have an app already, and then we can just tweak that app. But of course, what Jens just showed is that there is a lot of brain power that goes into creating that initial service. And as we can see, he actually finished creating that service. So back over to you, Jens.
Yeah, thank you. So as you have seen, maybe the create button now works. It's as already mentioned in the beginning, this is just it's a preview for the 2008 shipment. So I think we have found a bug with client independent tables and the framework. So what I did is now I added the client to the tables, and now it works. So now I have the fields available, which I can input. I can input a country key. Let's give the city where I'm closest to. This is the airport name is whatever. And the airport ID is Carl. So let's save that one. Let's go back and see. And here we have the airport already there. One last thing which I wanted to show before I hand over to Katja, which is making it looking much more better, is that I can also, with the draft functionality, as you see me here typing and switching, there's all down here, it's already saving the draft and has saved the draft. And if I click save and go back, you see I should have an object in the draft mode.
No, you hit save. Don't do save and go right back, sorry. And then you have the draft object.
Yeah, that client thing really got me out of my comfort zone. So now I have a draft, which I'm able to edit. And what I like to do is also show it in a browser next to it. So you see here a draft and here a draft. Let's just go here and add something. Yet nothing, and you see it already has added the city without doing anything. Same goes with the airport name and so on. So this works on the fly, saving it, and you can exit it, and the other browser and other user also see it. And with that, I say thank you for that, watching that part of the demo. And now I hand it over to Katja, which can probably make the UI look a little bit more better.
Don't stop sharing yet. I just want to, what you see here is the preview that is opened out of the ADT. It helps the backend developer to get an understanding about how the app could look like. And now I want to pick it from there and want to show you what the frontend developer can do on top.
Thank you.
Let me share my screen. Okay, this is Visual Studio Code, and we have recently released SAP Fiori tools for the SAP Fiori elements for Data V2. All the extensions are available in the Business Application Studio or in Visual Studio Code, but my demo today will use Visual Studio Code. I can open or I can access all the extensions from the command palette in Visual Studio Code, and I will start with the application generator. So I would like to create, it's called the list report with the corresponding object page. So let's select the V2 template. I need to define the system where the data is coming from. So it's an SAP system. I choose the same Jens did. I search, it was airport. Jens, it was this one, right?
Airport 3, yes.
I choose the main entity.
Yes.
I need to give it a name. And of course, my app gets a title too. And that's basically all I need to do to generate the UI artifacts that are needed for delivering the application at the end.
So what happens here is that under the hood, we're running a Yeoman generator that actually generates the scaffolding for a project. And we're running NPM to actually download all the different modules we need to actually not only create the project, but also to run it. So there's an entire development environment that's now created in that folder that people can actually use. So they don't actually have to have anything installed system-wide. They can have it really just contained in that folder. And if you switch between projects, you can maintain different versions of it, and you can have this all exist side by side. So you're not actually forced to switch back and forth. Now, of course, if you do an NPM install, in this case, it's probably 250 to 500 different tiny things that are downloaded. And Katja is right now sharing her screen on the video and in a VPN. So the combination of that is really slowing this down. So you can
maybe hear my Mac.
You can already see that some of this infrastructure is already created, I believe. So if you open this up, you can actually see that the main parts are there and that this node modules folder is the one that's right now being filled. So that's what we're waiting for to happen. And it actually downloads the metadata. That's what Katja is looking at right now. So you can actually see a lot of different content that is actually being pulled into this structure. Now, at this point, it should really be done.
Now, here we go.
There we go.
So I can open a terminal now. And there is one great feature. I can run the app now immediately.
So this is running on one of these modules that we actually downloaded from NPM that contains this runtime environment that you're seeing starting up right now. And if you know Fiori Elements, you know that on the first load, Fiori Elements actually takes all that metadata that we saw Jens actually create earlier and create the app on the fly out of that.
And you can see here that the app shows me different data. And the reason behind this is that this is mock data. So I can now start to develop my app even without a backend connection. So just in case the backend is not available, I can just keep going.
Not saying that there's any availability issues with the ABAP systems, really. That is not the message here. But if you're on an airplane and you need to keep working because when you land, you have to have an app ready, that is what this use case is for.
And I can also, of course, start the app with the right data. Go for NPM start. And now I can see the app with the data Jens just created. Jens also said that he was maintaining line item annotations. Basically, each line item annotation represents a column in the list report. And from there, I can navigate to the object page. And there I can see the object header details. And this is a so-called facet. But now let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And usually, whenever I work with an Excel, I want to have a possibility to download the data. And we also have developed a guided development extension. It, as the name says, guides me to the steps I need to do to get a certain functionality in a UI. So let's search for Excel. Each guide consists of a short summary in the beginning and also the details that shows me the snippet. I can now copy it, or the nice thing is I can even just hit apply. Then the right file is open, it's added to the file. I simply save it. Oops. Now my preview gets refreshed. And I have a nice exit to export button here. And as you can see, we have some guides you can use to make your app a bit nicer.
So is it easy enough for a backend developer to learn to do front-end coding with this guided navigation?
Yes, because he gets a clear summary of all the functionality, and he really gets a step-by-step description with the code snippets. He can automatically also adapt in the guides to achieve a certain functionality. Still, a backend developer is a backend developer, a front-end, front-end. But we can
Jens not defending himself. All
okay.
right.
But what I want to show you next is, this is, up to now, everything is locally. So I have it in my Visual Studio Code, and there I can do all the fine tuning, but I want to publish this back or deploy this back to the Steampunk system. For this, I have to create a deploy configuration. So I need an ABAP package. I need a transport request. And then you can see there is now a so-called UI5 deploy YAML file created, where I can see the app name, the package, and all the transport I just added. And now
why is there all the Z's in there, Katja?
Oh, I'm working with the local ABAP part.
Yeah, that's ABAP, the special snowflake. You know, ABAP has a little bit problems with namespace handling from the history. So set is for a local namespace here simply.
Yep. Now let me deploy my app. So now all the artifacts are created in the ABAP system, which takes a bit of time.
Right, while this is happening, actually, Jens, we have a question on the chat. There is somebody asking if it is possible to create long text nodes. I'm trying to see this here. Will RAP support long text nodes for formatted text is the question.
Good question. Frank, do you have an idea here?
And so I think there are two aspects to consider. So first of all, from a data type perspective, it is possible to also store strings, of course, as part of a element in the web data model. So, but if it comes to more reusable components, you could also think of a complete reuse component, which is responsible also to store the formatted texts. So this is currently not supported by Steampunk, but there are ideas to support this later on. So that also from an UI perspective, that you could be able to include a whole UI component with their own persistency, which can be easily integrated into a Fiori app just to provide few parameters. So that is some kind of so-called dependent object, so that these component to store formatted texts are dependent objects to the hosting business object. So this is an idea. This could be done, currently not supported, but for the time being, you could simply store the data as a string field in your business object.
Cool. I also see that Katja's deployment is now done.
You can see on the URL that the app is now available in the Steampunk system. And now everybody can access the app. But this was just a super simple app. Jens, how does this work with more or real business scenarios?
How does it? Yeah, so this was quite easy. So let's just take a look at a more complex scenario, which is also based on our flights scenario, but more sophisticated than the things I have done. And you can see, you cannot probably see something because I'm not sharing. Good. So yeah, we have a more sophisticated scenario, which you can see here. And let's just take a look at the service binding of this scenario, where you also see we have much more entity sets available in this service. And let's just start by booking a travel, which is, okay, not the best idea at the moment, but yeah, that's the example. So you can see the screen here, which is looking pretty better. I have also some example data. As you see, I have done some drafts here. We have some travels booked by those agencies here, which is a booking fee and the total price of it. And yeah, let's just start by creating one, right?
Yeah, just
so see the travel ID, the semantic key has been also automatically generated here, not like in my dummy example. We can choose a start date, and what you see here is the immediate feedback. A validation is happening in the backend immediately, that I must choose for travel 9, I must choose a begin date that's not after, that starts after today or is at least today. And then also must be after the end date, which I haven't specified yet. And you see it's also framing the right controls. So let's just go somewhere in the future. Oh, that's too far in the future. Travels can take a long time. I can choose an agency ID. You see I have also support here with a fuzzy search. I just typed A and it's searching me things. So I've chosen that one. I can type a description. I can type a customer. So let's see what we find here. It's Christine Fisherman is looking pretty good here. And I can specify a booking fee for it. And I can specify, of course, the currency. Let's just choose a euro at the moment. And what I also have here is, of course, sub items underneath the travel where I can choose, for example, here a flight. What's not so convenient here is, of course, that still customer ID has to be chosen and so on. But let's just choose a flight number, not something with a flight price 0, which is nice for the controlling, but not nice for us. Let's hide the search that we see something. And now we find flights which are available. And let's say I want to book Deutsche Lufthansa in February 21. It costs 5,448. And now just going already back. And you see I have the data here, and it has also automatically calculated the price based on the flight data and the booking fees. And as you see, I haven't clicked any action or a save button. And if I go back, we will find the number 9 also in a draft mode here.
But Jens, I think that the list report still looks a bit boring. Can you show us how to add a contact view so that we get some more details about the customer? Yeah.
So of course, so also we can do all that stuff in the backend, even if it's tough for me as an ABAP developer, not just kidding. So this is also quite nice. As long as you find the correct documentation, it helps a lot to have that, but it's available. That's the good news. You can edit. For that, I again need to find my view, which is based on, it's a C travel. And the thing what we introduced here is if you open it up, you see not so many annotations than you have seen in my view. And this is because we have also realized that it might help you. You might get confused with all that UI annotations based on you cannot find the data model anymore. For that, we have introduced the metadata extensions where you can outsource, let's call it, all that nice annotations. And you see here, we have a bunch more than I have used. And what Katja just asked me to do is, of course, add for the customer here more information that he uses the customer view, which is defined here on the customer association. Why can't I copy and paste? So here I clarify, declare it as a contact, and the value comes from the underscore customer association of the view, which you can see here. We have here the customer association defined to the customer view, and now I need to activate it. I don't know if I need to activate the main view, but I do it for demo, God's sake. And let's switch back to my browser. And now please keep your fingers crossed. If I do a refresh here, I hope we will find a better looking list view. And as you see, we now have also the customer here as a link. And if we click it, you also see then different contact details of that customer, which are in the system, just by adding those annotations.
So
Sorry,
you
Katja?
see that the UIs are driven by the metadata that is coming out of the backend?
Yes. And yeah, so the point at this point in time, I think we have already consumed a lot of time. So should we continue with more details on that, or should we switch to questions?
Well, maybe we can do some questions that we have shown up in the middle of this.
Yeah. So maybe I have questions now, and we can come back if we have a few minutes left later. So with regards to the tools, there's like a question: can we try creating the Fiori elements with a trial account?
So the SAP Business Application Studio is part of the Cloud Foundry trial. So you can actually use that and create a trial account, create an SAP Fiori dev space in there, and that comes with the SAP Fiori tools that you have seen. So the answer is, in short, yes, but it's on Cloud Foundry. It's an App Studio account that you need to create, and then in there, specifically in the SAP Fiori dev space.
Okay. And in regards of the examples that we just shown, where can we actually find further material, and how much do these tools actually cost that we see?
So the tools that you see, like if you talk about the front-end tools, they're actually available on the Service Marketplace for Visual Studio Code. So in your Visual Studio Code, you can type in SAP Fiori tools, and it will come up, and you can actually install an extension pack that installs all 6 extensions. And if you look at them in the Business Application Studio, they're included in the Business Application Studio license. There is no separate license fee, but you have to have a a Business Application Studio license, and that, or actually use the trial for that at this stage. And maybe Frank or Jens, maybe one of you wants to talk about how to best get the ADT going.
Yeah, so ADT is also free. So it's based, of course, on Eclipse. And what you can do is I will paste the URL where you can get the free developer plugin for Eclipse for the ABAP tool. So this is quite straightforward then, and you can start working as I've shown in the beginning.
Great. And then there is a question from Raghu. Can we create our own templates?
So what we're using, as I said, we're using Yeoman under the hood. So these templates are actually executed, and there is an instruction set. I don't know how you could technically create those. We're also looking at how you can customize them in the future, so that we can allow customers to actually introduce their own parts into the templates that they can use for their own setup. But in general, these are Yeoman templates at this stage. So they're fairly standard to create, and they would then be showing up in the Yeoman UI.
Okay. And then there's another one around Neo and Cloud Foundry. Could we move the apps from Neo to Cloud Foundry?
I think in general, that's a trend that we're seeing across the entire SAP ecosystem, that people are actually moving to Cloud Foundry and away from the Neo landscape. There's not a whole lot of development going into the Neo environment, and there is a big push to move as much as possible, as quickly as possible onto Cloud Foundry, because it's just so much more flexible.
Okay. Let's look through some more questions.
Yeah, maybe just to add from the ABAP perspective. So ABAP is only supported on top of Cloud Foundry. So the ABAP service runs on Cloud Foundry, not on Neo.
Okay, good to know. Where's the contact card design? Can it be changed from a standard UI element?
Okay, the contact card is an SAP UI 5 control. So it can be for sure changed a bit. But if you want to go, or if you want to have really a complete different design, then you need to go for a freestyle piece.
Okay.
There are options in Fiori elements to create so-called extensions. And within those extensions, you are basically freestyle and you can develop what you want. But you have to keep in mind that this is your code and you might run into trouble if we, for example, change the design from, like we did, from Fiori 2 to Fiori 3.
Okay. And the next one is there any way to connect to an on-premise system?
Yeah, thanks
Also,
for the question. I saved €5. Yeah, very good question. So I missed that point in my slide explaining the main building blocks. So yes, connectivity to on-premise system is possible. So typically via the cloud connector, and we are supporting RFC outbound from the Steampunk perspective, RFC and HTTP. That's possible. It's very important.
Maybe I don't know if the question gone in that direction, but of course this is also quite good information, but maybe also the question from the Visual Studio Code to on-premise, I don't know, to deploy the Fiori application. Katja, Sebastian?
We do that. So when Katja selected in the dropdown the different system types, there was the system connection, and you can actually connect directly to an on-premise system. We did do a different demo in a different theater where we actually showed that. It was part of the UI5Con keynote, for example, where we showed, no, sorry, that one was CAP.
No, that was CAP video.
Of the SAP online track demo that we did a couple of weeks ago. So if you look for that, Fiori Elements and SAP online track, you might be able to find the video, but it's doable and you can try it out yourself.
Okay. And then one more regarding Neo. So Neo seems to be like a popular platform. You guys are supporting Cloud Foundry. Are there any chances of this coming to Neo?
Oh, I gave the wrong answer. No, it was the right answer from product perspective. So with regard to ABAP, so the ABAP service, so there are no plans to move to Neo, as Sebastian mentioned. So there's a clear push towards Cloud Foundry, and the ABAP service is already on Cloud Foundry.
Okay.
And there's one for you. Guys, actually, how the heck do we deploy into the Launchpad?
I thought this is for Katja, isn't it?
I think we need to have a separate session for the Launchpad. I think it's worth to talk 1 hour about it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it should be possible. Let's phrase it like that. So yes, of course, the idea goes that you can deploy it to, of course, to the ABAP Launchpad on that side, and you can deploy it to the local CF Launchpad, and then both can, of course, then be connected to the centralized Fiori Launchpad. That's the idea behind it.
And I stopped my demo when I deployed the app to ABAP, and for sure, from there I can open the RDT and I can do all the necessary steps to configure that the app shows up in the Launchpad. But due to the time constraints, we skipped that part.
So we will have a follow-up with you guys?
And some other guys from the Launchpad, yeah.
Okay. Okay, then maybe one final question from my side is like, could we also use other UI technologies with Steampunk beyond UI5?
Why would you do that?
I don't know, but some people do.
Yeah, but maybe also another aspect is worth to mention. So it depends on how many people are having background in the ABAP area of our audience. So we should also say that the SAP GUI, which is well known on the on-prem side, is not supported in Steampunk. So therefore, we are completely relying on Fiori. So Fiori Elements and Freestyle. So therefore, yeah, many thanks to Katja and Sebastian for the support, because this is our highway, our recommended UI technology for Steampunk.
Okay, great. Well then, first of all, I wanted to say a big thank you to you. It was a very entertaining session today. Great demos. We saw that real life demos are sometimes a little bit tricky, but really appreciate you taking your time to present that. And talking about time, for those of you actually who have missed any of the previous Fiori side chats and would like to see what we talked about, you can actually go on our tiny URL link, which is tinyurl.com/sap-fiori-side-chat. And you will find like recordings from the prior sessions, agendas for the next sessions, and login information for the calls. And talking about the next sessions, actually, the Fiori side chat is actually taking a summer break.
Yes, I'm ready.
You can already see Keith is getting ready for that.
I'm very ready, yes.
Yes. And we will be back September 15th, same time, same place. And as I mentioned, if you want any of the information, just go on the tiny URL link. And with that, thank you very much to the panel and the attendees on the call. Really appreciate your time, and it was a great session today. Thanks a lot, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Yep. Have a happy summer.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.